object, it needs to maximize its thrust and lift, but also minimize its drag and gravity. For the gravity, we cannot do anything, but the rest of the three can be taken care of. But before all this, there is one thing, the construction of the plane. The construction of the plane have three main aspects. One is the aerodynamics, second is symmetry, and third is the center of mass. Now you may be thinking that what is all this? These are some physics terms. I'll explain you one by one. Symmetry is a very easy concept. This symmetry means that one half is the same, it looks the same as the other half. Can you spot the mistake in this plane? Look here, this is long and this is short. And in this one, both the sides are equal in size, even this one. In fact, it came out true. Look at this side. It has a little gap which is there. But look at this side. It's very sharp. So this plane will not fly as well as this one because it is asymmetrical. Because of asymmetry, this plane can roll while flying or it can turn while flying. It will not go straight. That's the main idea. Now, the next concept which contributes the most is center of mass. The point at which the entire mass of the body is concentrated is called the center of mass. That particular point acts as the whole body. You can balance the body from that point. Now, let me show you something to understand the center of mass. Can you see this wooden block? So, if I push it from this side, the same side will move ahead. Now, if I move from the other side, the same side will go forward. But what if I move from the center? You can see that the whole body moves forward. So, the center of mass would be somewhere in the center. Let me show you one more example. You can easily balance the body from the lines passing from the center of mass. Same on this side. And same on this side too. So we conclude that the center of mass lies between an intersection of this planes. But in any object, the center of mass can be shifted. If I had a piece of wood over here, see what happens. This means that the center of mass is shifted. Look at the scale. It is 12 inches long. I guess that the center of mass of the scale may be on the 6 inches mark. Let's check. But look at the spoon. It is 6 inches long. Now let me see where the center of mass of the spoon lies. It lies just over here. That is 4 inches over here and 2 inches over here. Actually, it should have been in the 3 inches mark, but it is shifted and gone to the 4 inches mark. So, it is possible to change the center of mass's place by changing the shape of the object. That is also included for a paper plane as well. We need to fold the paper so that the center of mass is actually at the front of the plane. Due to this creates thrust. It pushes the plane forward. Now I'll make 3 paper planes with the same basic design, but the center of mass is in different places. In this plane, I'll just fold it in half and then fold the wings and some winglets. Here I'm folding the wings. I'm trying to be as precise as possible. And now I'll fold some winglets. These are simple planes, not so fancy. And the green plane is like this. Now I'll fold plane number 2. In this plane, I'll fold it in half and then I'll fold it in half again and then I'll fold the half of that again. Again, this is not so fancy and I'm trying as the best I can. Then the main thing is that the center of mass would be shifted forward a little bit. As you can see in this plane, I fold it in half and then just fold the wings. But in this, I fold one layer forward again. This locks the layers, these two layers, and it also brings the center of mass a little bit forward. This blue plane looks like this. You can see this plane is a little bit smaller than the green plane. Now in this third plane, now I'll shift the center of mass extremely to the front. I'll fold another time so it's extremely to the front. Now I'll fold some winglets. This is how the yellow plane looks like. Now this, in this plane, we have given a thick and narrow fold. So what it will do is the center of mass is actually at this part of the plane where it's thick and narrow. But same here, but this is less thicker and a little bit more broader, means it is somewhere over here, the center of mass. And in this one, maybe this is very less thick and maybe the center of mass may be here. Let's see how these three paper airplanes would fly. Now let's try them all. First, the green one. Now the blue one. Now the yellow one. So we know that center of mass plays a very important role in a flying object. So in this plane, if I balance it over here, it will not balance. If I balance it over here, it will not balance. But if I balance it over here, it will balance. That means the center of mass would be somewhere right here. So now imagine if the center of mass would be a little bit over here, then the plane will nosedive and we need to put up elevator. That's not good. But if it's way far back, then it will topple and fall down. Now let us go to the third concept, aerodynamics. We know that gases and liquids always stay in layers. It is difficult to demonstrate the layers of gases, but I have a small experiment that shows that liquids remain in layers. Here I have taken some dishwashing liquid and here I have taken some water. You know that the liquid soap is soluble in water, but the density is higher. So it will remain separate from the water for some time. Let's see what happens if I pour water in this. Can you see this and this layer are separated? Now I closed it and now I will turn the bottle upside down 5 times or 6 times. Look at what is happening. Look, it happened again. Can you see these separated layers? As the water tries to mix into the soap, it creates this effect. When any object needs to pass through these layers, it needs to cut them apart. There comes the role of aerodynamics. Look at the 2 videos of these dives. The first dive wasn't any aerodynamic, so the water spilled out. But in the second dive, it was very aerodynamic, so not a lot of water was displaced. Now let me make some models of the planes and then I will show you how they are aerodynamic. All these planes. I'll explain aerodynamics in each design. First, we take this plane. Its name is Arrowhead. Look, over here, the shape is like a triangle, but then it goes slanting over here and then comes as a V over here. Now, what this does is that when the wind flows, it flows this way, but this part of the plane does not deal with the wind. The wings start from here and then they form a triangle. Also, you can see from the side. Next comes Invictus. Look, over here, the wind flows like this and then goes on a glide slope. That means this is a little bit a swift flyer. Here you can see that I have folded winglets on the bottom of the plane for extra stability. Look, this plane has a lock. This lock, some air goes into these pockets in the lock. Okay, so that's why we have to compensate the drag and thrust. So we have put the winglets. Next one is F-30 Phantom. Look at the beautiful shape. It almost looks like a fighter jet. You can see that the air actually does not hurt the plane a lot. Look, when the air comes, it slopes over here and goes up. Means this whole part of the plane doesn't deal with the air. And you may be thinking that the air may go down here, but this has the cutting. Means that the air will only flow down over here. This part of the plane doesn't deal with the air. Next one is the circuit racer. This is a very unique plane. You can see here it's completely flat. Then how to throw it? This I'll teach later. But we are talking about aerodynamics, so let's talk about that. Here you can see that the back part starting from this point and this point doesn't deal with the air, because the air is flowing like this on the plane and then it goes here. This part doesn't deal with it, and this has a pocket, so every layer is locked, and it also doesn't have a fuselage, almost doesn't have a fuselage. This is the most aerodynamic plane of these all, because it is a flat surface, and the flat surface only cuts very little air. Next one is F-10 Centurion. You can see that this plane has fins and a lock. This is also a pretty quick flyer. These fins help in the direction of the air. You can see that the air is flowing this way, but then if these fins were not there, the air will be flowing straight. So this helps in getting rid of the air touching the back part. This lock is a very common lock, but it helps as it is very aerodynamic than it would be without the lock. Look, this lock actually makes the air go a little bit farther from the other part of the body, as this lock actually has a small pocket in it. You can see very small pocket in it. It flows there, and it's actually not touching the other fuselage and the other parts of the body. Another benefit is that you can see there's a slant over here. Yeah, that slant, if any wind, if any air just touches the part of the body, the air which is coming from the bottom will not, because it will flow down here because of the slant. And this is T3. This is T3. I named it T3 because I have designed it, and this is my third successful model. This is a very aerodynamic plane. Over here you can see that this part deals with the air, but then the air goes down and this part doesn't get to deal with the air. So, and at the top part you can see that there is some kind of divider, and this divider is that it divides the wind in 3 columns. One is a narrow one in the middle. Here are 2 big ones. This makes it more stable and balanced. And here I folded some winglets to make it more stable, as if I didn't fold them, the air would escape from here. You can have a careful look at the construction. These are just a few planes which I made to learn the skill. Over here, look. Over here, this plane can do loops, and its fuselage is only till here. Then this one can boomerang back to us. Then this one can fly unpredictably. Then this one has two points. You can see here 2 points. Then this one also flies unpredictably and has a weird point. Hope you all got to know the aerodynamics which I knew.